Welcome to Corinne's Picks. I'm your host, Corinne Basabe. Today we are very fortunate. We have two remarkable artists. We have Katori Walker and her husband, Evan Bishop. They've been on Corinne's Picks before, and I know them as body art painters, but I was at a reception recently and saw the most incredible painting by Mr. Bishop, and just thought that I needed to have them back. So welcome back.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So, you know, this couple they're basically legends in Yonkers. They've been in the arts for a while, and it's very unusual because to be an artist is sometimes very solitary, but you're really doing art collaboratively, like it's part of your relationship. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you met?
Quick story. I was actually preparing for an exhibit at the White Plains Library,
yes,
for Harlem
Week.
No, not
Harlem Arts Week.
Harlem Arts Festival, or Harlem some event.
Remember.
And I happened to be there. That was the first exhibit that I did publicly in New York since graduating from college. And I was a little bit trepidatious about exhibiting, but I put my work out there and met a lot of phenomenal artists that I still stay in contact with to this day. And this wonderful woman brought her grandmother to the exhibit, the Fine Arts Show, the Harlem Fine Arts Show. And when I saw that she was not just looking at my work and passing by, she was studying, it seemed like she was studying every brush stroke. I knew that not only was she an artist, but I wanted to find out what she saw in my art. Because the art that I created wasn't really for exhibition for the public, it was something dear to me, so she connected to me.
We both were not supposed to really be there. It was pouring rain, it was horrendous, and my grandmother, I had promised to take her because she usually goes down to the city. Well, I go down to the city, and it just was too much for her, and it was finally in White Plains, and she was like, I'm going. She even stuck her tongue at me when I told her. And so that happened, and then Evan wasn't going to go because of the rain as well, so it really seemed like this was unbelievable. And when we first met each other, it was just like, oh, we're going to be friends, and we had no idea that 10 years later, this year, we're together.
And it's really interesting because, you know, it makes me wonder about destiny, because I think on your website I noticed that you were both born on the same day.
Yes.
That's why our website is called 320 Arts.
Right.
March 20th coming up.
Yes, yes.
So, you know, one of the problems I always have in this show is making sure I get through most of the images, but I did at the last minute want to show an image that I saw recently at the Rye Art Center. It was an incredible exhibit for Black History Month, yes. And that's where I ran into you again after all these years. So let's show that one first before we go through the other images. And please tell us, you know, I was very inspired by your talk about this image and the meaning, so please.
This piece is entitled Our Brother Khalif, and it's a celebration of the bravery of Khalif Browder. It's a collaboration with another phenomenal artist, Lance Johnson. We painted this around the time of the airing of his story on Netflix, and when we knew about Khalif Browder, became public his tribulations with the prison system and the injustices. And in our rage, I remember being on the phone with Lance, and we were just going back and forth. And what came to me was, how do we take that and create something? And through this piece, we were able to really not so much. It was just a matter of just really looking at it. So what I wanted to do is, that's an image of Khalif Browder, but I used another model for the body. And what I did is I took to remix it and put a hip hop flavor on it. Tupac has Thug Life on his stomach. Khalif Browder does not have tattoos. I don't know of him having any tattoos, but my interpretation with that was that he would have, instead of Thug Life, he would have truth on his belly. On his chest, Tupac once again has a tat, I think it says to die for, something like that. I remixed that as well. But I also wanted to have a play with the scales of justice, and the woman that they promote to be this, justice is blind, and looking at the trials and tribulations that Kalief Browder went through, he's unveiling himself to the truth of what he had to experience by pulling off the flag from over his eyes. And the scales of justice, I put in lies and biases, because all that he went through, he didn't have to.
And also, I know that you wanted to create a piece that would shake the person that's looking at it, make it uncomfortable, to start that conversation, to start that thinking. And so the image that you produce actually does that, because there's some places that might not want to hang that.
It's really interesting, because I did get, the thing with the bandana around his forehead. It was reminiscent of the hip hop idol Tupac.
Right.
I did get that, and I love the fact that he is heroic. And the butterfly, to me it's like, even though it's tragic and you have the skulls, but he in his soul, basically died for his own principle. I mean,
he stood up for his rights, while everyone was saying, just cop a plea and you can go home. He said, I didn't do it. And that was, Jay-Z called him a prophet, and it's not something airy-fairy, but it's somebody who puts themselves through fire to stand up and teach people important values. And Kalief Browder is a hero, so I wanted to make sure I celebrated his likeness in that piece to really showcase and really create the story. So in Ride, that was the conversation that was had when I was asked to bring something to that exhibition. Shout out to Kiki Storm for doing a great job at the Ride Arts Center. That was the only piece I wanted to put. Katori and I have a nice collection of pieces that we could put up, but Kalief, his story needed to be told in Black History Month of this year.
And you were saying, in order to really push it to be shown, you said, I am him, or how did you? Yeah, he had said, like, I am him. This could be me. This could be my life. This could be anybody's life.
Exactly.
And so let's not shy away from putting a piece that might make uncomfortable people in certain neighborhoods feel uncomfortable.
And I love the fact that, you're given the whole issue of, it is the Bronx, we're in the Bronx, and we're so used to tragedies and death, and it's important to let someone sit with something for a minute. Give him that minute of thought and reflection.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate that painting. It's a magnificent painting. The next three images, really, I had before explaining each of your work separately. I wanted to throw these three images because it really represents your collaboration. So tell us a little bit about these images.
This piece was part of a mural project in Harlem called Uptown Grand Central. Carrie King, has always given us an opportunity to really showcase our artistry on the streets of New York. Those are 4 panels. The panels actually are covering or blocking the view of a construction of space that's being worked on. So throughout 124th, 125th Park in Lexington, there are many murals, and various artists have participated. In the past, we've done phenomenal work, but this year they said the challenge is that they didn't want, their new sponsor didn't want anyone to use any words.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, we can't use any words, so we chose to use sign language.
Wow.
And one of the really wonderful things about being on the street, being a street artist and working on a mural, is that you get people who actually comment, people who want to talk to you. And it was interesting because it spells love. And so we were calling it the Love Corner, because in the midst of that love corner, in that particular area, you see some things that are pretty interesting. And we felt that by being on that corner, creating that, having people smile, having people stop and say, oh, it means love, right? Or what does it mean? It sparked conversation. It also had an energy to it. And we felt that we were putting our love energy there. And that love energy is going to help that dynamic of that feeling and energy on that corner.
Because it's actually on the corner of 125th and Lexington. And if you ask anybody who lives in that area, give me one word that describes that area, it's not love. So we came in as alchemists to change the chemistry, and one of the beautiful experiences that I saw, like a girl, she had to be like no more than 5 years old. And I saw her and her daddy walking by, and she was like, "Daddy, it says love." So this little girl saw the sign. He had to stop back and look at it, like, so just having this, so even though the rules were we couldn't use words, we wanted to celebrate the hard of hearing community and celebrate Black and brown people with the power of love. Katori chose the vibrant colors. She did the background hearts. You know, I did the hand symbols, and we worked together to, you know, bring some good energy on that corner.
I love that piece. Can we see the next slide?
Yeah.
Legacy. That piece is done on the Nepperhan Community Center
In Yonkers.
in Yonkers, a pillar of the community in terms of a community center. We were commissioned to do a piece that celebrates legends. This was at 2020. We did it around this time in 2020 before the world shut down.
Yes.
We wanted to not only celebrate some icons that people can learn from, but we also wanted to have a conversation through visuals, through textures. So Katori did a phenomenal job in getting the community, young people involved in doing the Ndinkra symbols, and not just painting them, but she actually has the words next to them.
And teaching them about each
them.
one and what they mean and why it was important that they were doing this, because I think it's not just a regular art project. I wanted them to understand and take ownership of their work.
Right. So we were pleased to do that. That was actually, we were putting the final touches on it when the world shut down in 2020.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
I'm glad we got that done.
And what materials did you use to do this?
Excellent question.
I see the buckets. I think I see, is that buckets of paint?
Yeah, we because exterior we used you know, Mason approved or worked on latex paint. It's all paintbrush. No, actually we used spray paint for the colors.
So for the colors we used the
Yeah.
spray paint. So it's a combination of spray paint and regular paint and latex exterior paint.
So including the heads above it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I because there was an issue with time and, you know, get it done before the world shut down. I didn't have the luxury of doing a different technique, so I literally had to look at it and just paint it right on the
Wow.
wall, as opposed to
Wow.
using a grid method or projector.
And exactly too, so the surface, whenever you're doing murals, you have to look at the surface and the condition, and you have to find out, can it be corrected, buffed, or cleaned? And if it can't, then you have to work with the elements, the natural elements. So if there's moss growing on it and it's crumbling or something's going on, you have to work around it. And so we did a really great job, I think, on this wall for the condition that it was in. It's not in bad condition, but as an artist, you have to be able to work with the elements and learn how to work with them.
Okay, so let's see another slide. We're going to go to a PSA shortly, but I think we have
Sure.
time for one more.
Woo, okay, that is our,
Woo!
the Yes Yonkers Community Quilt Project is the largest community art project in the history of Yonkers.
Wow.
We produced this in 2018, 2019. And this consists of participants and people painting 10 by 10 swatches. How many people did it?
I think it's over 1,300 people, or
I think it's like 1,275.
something like that,
Right.
that participated from as young as newborn,
1-year-old.
1-year-old, all the way up to, at the time,
Your grandmother's
my
98.
grandmother was 98. So each person had the responsibility to paint and express themselves, whether it was through poetry or art, and they can also add things to it. So some of them have fabric on it. And we were able to be at about 40 different locations we went
9
to
months.
in 9 months.
To get all that done.
Yes, and we had to, whether it was a fair, whether it was going to
Senior centers.
senior centers,
schools.
somebody's house. I mean, sometimes we went to people's house and they fed us food, which was beautiful. One, we were in the pool. So it was just different experiences. But it wasn't just about the art. Again, it was about bringing people together. So in some of these places that we had, we called them, I forgot what we called them.
Creation stations.
Creation stations. And then people would meet each other from other parts of Yonkers, from other areas that they've never seen each other before.
And the intent was to bring the community together. How can we bring Yonkers as one city together? And it was through doing this project, so each person can say, my art is here, my art is there, and they can go to these places. So how do we create people moving from North Yonkers to South Yonkers to West Yonkers to East Yonkers? And this was a great project to do it.
Because some of them were getting in conversation and we're like, oh, you're my cousin's cousin. I didn't know you, I've never met you before. Or they reconnected. So it was very interesting. As well as part of it was up at the Yonkers Will Library for a couple of, well, how long?
2 years.
For about 2 years. And now we have pieces in different areas.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go to a commercial break, and then we'll continue talking about the quilts. That's something that I want to really continue to talk about. So here's our PSA.
Thank you.
Society that we were brought up in is very hard on little black boys. You have to navigate feelings and emotions so the world don't get you.
Sometimes when I cry, I won't know how I'm feeling or why I'm crying.
I just grew up never feeling like it was okay to cry.
Yeah.
And so he really forced me to have to reconnect with the kid that didn't get to cry.
That's beautiful.
We don't cry. We gon' take our piece of the pie.
Welcome back to Corinne's Picks. We've been talking to Katori Walker and Evan Bishops. We've been just exploring their career and journey as artists, and we've been talking about a really remarkable project that they had in Yonkers, their quilt project. And I just wanted to wrap up on that discussion a little bit more. You know, I'm really hoping that you actually bring that project back, maybe, you know, do another grant or whatever, especially in the Bronx. I think more than ever, we need that. You know, we need, as you see in the PSA that I just showed, that we do need to be building communities. So many of us are isolated and depressed and have anxiety.
Exactly, and one of the interesting things was when we were doing it outside, I think we were at a fair, and somebody walked by and they said, they said, I'm homeless, can I still do one? Mm-hmm. And we're like, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So we have some people that are displaced that contributed to this quilt, and they were so happy to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. We have people who say, I can't draw, I can't do anything, but they took the time and they realized that they created something, and I never knew I could even have this in me, that I could do this before. And then there were people who did something and they might not have liked what they did, but were happy to be a part of something.
So did it involve sewing or just gluing their piece on the back fabric?
Great question. So, disclaimer, it's not a real quilt.
Okay. Non-traditional.
Non-traditional quilt. We were inspired by two things that inspired us. The first one was the AIDS quilt that they did in the 80s. We saw how powerful and impactful that was to bring messages through fabric art. And then for me, there's a phenomenal album cover by Tribe Called Quest, where they put images of other artists. So they use their platform to celebrate other people. So those two things inspired us. And so what we did is we cut out canvas swatches, 10-inch by 10-inch canvas swatches, and we put metal grommets on the corners of them. And how we connected them was through pipe cleaners, colorful pipe cleaners. so which is
Because
good.
I just want to jump
Yeah.
in real quick, was because we did think about sewing it, but then
Right.
it's liability, then it's the type of machine to go through it, and then getting people to be able to be there at a certain time, and we wanted to make it mobile because to try to get people to come to the library or come somewhere to a place, sewing school, that was kind of constricting for us.
Right.
So those were the reasons we had to come up as artists, something creative, and that's why we chose to do it that way.
Okay. You know, we have about 15 images to go through. So I am going to do something remarkable. I'm going to close my mouth and I'm going to let you guys go through and talk about each one as they show it.
All
Okay,
right.
real quick.
Put on my seatbelt.
All right. you
Mr.
take
Lee.
this one.
Mr. Lee was one of the first participants of the project we did, the first grant-winning project we did called 100 Words of Wisdom, where we asked seniors what one word would they share with the youth of today. And Mr. Lee said think, and while he was talking to Katori and answering the question, I was body painting that on him. Each participant was in full control of what they wanted. Mr. Lee chose his chest, so they chose the location that I body painted, they chose the colors, and they chose the word.
And they told their life story around the word think.
Yes, Mr. Lee, we thank him.
And we have over 141 people that
142.
42 people that participated in that.
Yes.
Okay, so this particular piece here was inspired by nature, about the connection between women and nature. And so I wanted here to use different types of material, which were river stones and cowrie shells. And the green is also shells at the bottom. And it was just that connection that we have, because sometimes we lose the connection to nature. And then, of course, on top, I wanted the flower to just symbolize just our greater consciousness.
Is that sand behind the flower, the black? Is that
So,
sand?
yes, that's sand mixed with black glitter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay, so this is a mural. It is in Harlem. It's Unity. So this is for a pet store. So I was commissioned to do that for a pet store, and it was to bring the community together.
Spray paint, acrylic paint.
Okay, so now this is at the Hudson River Museum. I was at the Hudson River Museum. It was called Woman to the Fore. I did this with 2 other artists, and it was the title wall where we're celebrating women. So this was made with spray paint. The flowers are actually fake flowers that we used, beads. It's just gems. Everything is in this piece. And we came together, and it's a really big installation. And what you can't see up on the top is the stars and everything, so it's even larger than what's pictured here. And then this is another piece. This is at Daylighting 3. So
Where?
in Yonkers. So they wanted to find a creative way to highlight Daylighting 3. And so this is actually an electrical box. So it's all metal. And it was my first time working on all metal. And Evan, of course, his artistic skills and my skills, we worked together to put this together. And it was wonderful. But the challenge was, how do you work on a metal surface with the hot sun coming down, and also to make it stick? So we had to sandpaper it.
Oh.
Yeah, and
okay.
then we spray painted it, and then we used acrylic over it, and then we varnished it. So there was a process with this.
Okay.
Ooh, okay, that's my body art days. This piece, of course, the model is Katori Walker. This was in our studio. When I was doing body art, there were times when we would do work in the public, but there was also times when we would work in the studio. And I wanted to celebrate my foundation, which is graffiti art. Spray painting on the trains was one of my pastime joys. And this piece, it actually spells out body art, but I'm using each letter represents a different graffiti writer that I called my hero. Each one of them were, I didn't know them personally, but they inspired me, so it spells out body art.
How long did it take you to do that?
Oh, about probably 5.5, 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh, yes. Hip Hop Hooray. This piece was created at the beginning of last year. celebrating the 50 years of hip hop. I wanted to create a painting that really tells my story in the journey of 50 years of hip hop. So what you have is, you have the 4 basic elements. First the DJ, then you have the graffiti artist, the breakdancer, and the MC. And inside of the swirl are over 750 names of individuals, crews, locations, events, things that inspired me over the 50 years. Since I painted the Hip Hop Hooray picture, Hudson River Museum saw the value of celebrating hip hop in Yonkers. So this piece is an installation at the Hudson River Museum. We just took it down.
How long was it
last
up for?
week? It was up since November 10th of 2023.
And this is a collaboration, this
Yes,
piece?
collaboration piece with artist Michael Cuomo, Nancy Mendez, Marco Diallo, I want to say, sorry Marco. And the middle piece is a portrait of DMX that was painted in Harlem by an artist named Basabe. And we transplanted it. We took it from, it was actually on its way to being destroyed, and we brought it from from Harlem to Yonkers to preserve it. And all the other pieces we collaborated and put together.
We have 1 minute left, unfortunately.
Oh boy.
It's been such a pleasure.
Yes.
You know, I could talk to you guys forever about your work and your journey. Please, any last words in terms of where you guys are going in terms of projects?
Go ahead.
We're happy to say that we are doing work in the Bronx. We're working with the Jerome and Gun Hill Business Improvement District. We've done 12 gates with them last year, and we're actually going to do some asphalt or street art in the next couple of weeks and months. So we're looking forward to that.
And right now, currently at the Blue Door Art Center, my co-host Madge Scott and I, we have a women's exhibit up for a Women's History Month. So it'll be up all month.
So can you give the dates and times and location, please?
Yes, so that is at 13 Riverdale Avenue in Yonkers, New York. March 16th will be our artist talk from 3 o'clock.
Okay, and the Blue Door is like a members kind of art gallery where members get to exhibit and have shows. So anyway, again, thank you. And that's it for Corinne's Picks today.
All right, thank you.
Great job.